Alright, what's up everybody and welcome back to Fab Unofficial. And we are in the middle of spoiler season, and honestly, I had a bit of an idea of what I was going to do. Obviously, February open, ready to look through spoilers, but I'm recording this about 2 minutes removed from Vinssette's spoiler video of Levia redeemed, and what in the sweet Lord is going on. So scroll straight down and to this card because we got to have another look at this. Freaking insane. Now we have demi heroes, and I still don't even really know what that means, but obviously let's look at this front side first. So Levia redeemed. So obviously it's a legendary Levia specialization, so you can only have one. But both sides work from your inventory. So basically you just need to register this one off in your list, and your inventory, as I understand it and I sort of think about it, is kind of like your sideboard, right? It's with your equipment, which means it's playable both in Blitz and in CC. Obviously in Blitz, I assume it just has to take one of the 11 slots you have for equipment. But yeah, we'll look at the Levia redeemed side first. But has action: turn all cards in your banished zone face down, transform into Levia redeemed. So literally take this out of your deck box and put it into play because you are now Levia redeemed. Activate this only while this is in your inventory and you have 13 or more cards with Blood Debt in your banish zone. So that's a hefty freaking price to pay, but cards you own lose Blood Debt. So this is insane. Levia was already really hard to make work because in the late game, you know, when so often it came down to block a bunch, weapon swing, try and find some edge, make a little bit of turn, you were stuck having to turn Blood Debt off, which made things really, really difficult. Now you can just turn into this hero, which I just want to say the art on Levia redeemed is incredible. Steve Argyle, obviously a pretty renowned artist, amazing freaking job. This is insane. But with Levia redeemed, Blood Debt is turned off, means nothing anymore. So you get to play this out the endgame scenario that most other decks do. So pretty busted. And so this also turns the downside of like things like Carrion Husk, which was an amazing piece of equipment, off, as normally the downside to that was that it would go into your banish zone, has Blood Debt, you have no way to sort of play it out from there, so you just slowly would guarantee loss. Not anymore. But this would be insane by itself, but now we have the flip side. So Blasphemous Levia consumed, with the text box is even larger, but this one is a little different. So while it's in the inventory, when Blood Debt reduces your life to 13, so specifically 13, you may transform into Blasphemous Levia consumed. So straight away, if you're playing against an opponent and they attack you to 12, or you fall to 12 or something, or 13 or whatever, as a result of an attack, you can't turn into Blasphemous Levia consumed. It has to be because of Blood Debt. But once each turn, you may play a card with Blood Debt from your banish zone. And then whenever a card is put into your banish zone, turn it face down. If you would lose life from Blood Debt, instead banish the top card of your deck. So there's a couple ways in my head that you could play this, right? Like you can play a little bit more of a grindy Levia game if you wanted to, and then sort of set up where you only have a few cards with Blood Debt, right? Because if you're racking up Blood Debt with the potential of turning into Levia redeemed, you need 13, and if that's the case, then you've got about 2 turns with as Blasphemous Levia consumed before your whole deck's gone and you're just going to fatigue out. But if you're playing a bit of a different game plan, then you know, maybe you have 3 or 4 cards with Blood Debt, and then maybe you're able to play them out one each turn, or maybe a couple depending on what they are, and sort of escape that step, because obviously yeah, if you have nothing with Blood Debt, then you're not going to banish any cards from your deck. But yeah, I mean, I really don't know. But the fact that demi heroes are now a thing just makes me love this game even more. Honestly, absolutely insane spoiler card. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of talk about this in the days to come. So yeah, we can move on, but what a reveal. Absolutely sick, and props to Vinsette, really went hard on that spoiler video. So yeah, really, really cool, and honestly, don't really know what to think. At the very least, this might be the spiciest spoiler reveal of all time. But yeah, plenty of other stuff to talk about. So we can scroll a little bit further up, and I won't go through everything, there's so many, but there are a few things that I wanted to look at. Obviously confirmed, Adult Prism and Adult Vinsette have the same text box, and we finally know what figments are. So the first one revealed was this here, the Figment of Triumph by Dale and Mac, I believe. Yeah, I think this one was by him, but yeah, anyway, Figment of Triumph. So all the figments are legendary, which means we only get one, and they are instants. So they don't have a block value, and they cost 4, similar to the yellow auras, but they do have a enters ability. So when it enters the arena, attack action cards your opponent's control get -1. Sorry, just looking. I'm going to turn this. Got this heater going. But yeah, so figments, they can't block, they cost 4. They do have an enters the arena ability. This one, attack action cards your opponent control get -1 this turn. What I really liked about this is obviously people have talked about Halo of Illumination, and I did as well in my sort of Prism reaction video. With Prism's ability, it's any action phase, which means it works in your opponent's as well. So what I really like is this has an ability that's relevant in both yours and your opponent's turn. On your opponent's turn, this can be used as a 1-card tutor, I guess, with Halo in decks that maybe go wide, something like Phi, and it means attack action cards they control are going to have -1 power this turn. So just off 1 blue, replace itself essentially, put this figment in play, and you're probably worth anywhere from 3 to 4 points. And then this sits in play, right? There is a couple ways, well, one way I think that was spoiled, which can kill figments, or maybe it was auras, we can have a little check. But yeah, obviously this sits in play, and then you can awaken it with Prism's ability into Victoria, Archangel of Triumph. We're not going to look at all the figments. This is obviously just a bit of a reaction to some of the spoilers, but as we suspected, figments turn into allies, and they are very, very similar to the original Soraya, at least on the ally side. Cost 2 to attack. They don't have go again. They all have that ward 4, and then they have an additional ability akin to the one that's on the figment side, which you can get by banishing a card from your hero's soul. So yeah, this one is amazing. Again, in line with the actual Herald of Triumph ability, so it makes it harder for poppers. Means that your opponent kind of needs a 7 power, something like a bolting blade. But yeah, really, really cool. And I will say, if we look through, where is it? Yeah, the Figment of Erudition is absolutely nuts. So the fact that the figment gets a ponder and is going to replace itself, and then the flip side is, yeah, like that erudition ability of drawing you 2 cards is insane. There's so many implications in terms of all the instant speed play that Prism has, and just the art on these. Obviously the Marvels are going to be massively sought after, so if you're cracking packs and you hit a Marvel, congratulations, because I think every single one of the Marvels in this set is going to be pretty sought after. But yeah, really, really love everything they did with Prism, and taking it from the Spectra Aura Prism as we knew her, definitely pushing into this Angel ally, attacking with Heralds, Figments. There's so much play in deck building, I think, with this deck moving forward in terms of where you want to be positioned. Obviously, another beautiful card that was revealed was the new legendary Light Illusionist chess piece, the Imperium Rapture, which obviously allows you to reduces the cost of Prism's ability by 2, which means that you're able to sort of flip them without the resource requirement. But whether you want this, or there's a build that comes out with Vestige, or there is another legendary headpiece that sort of pairs with the kimono, which I think is pretty good, but it's, who knows? There's so much deck building consideration with these spoilers. Absolutely insane. I think, yeah, Prism fans rejoice, because I certainly am. Now Boltyn. This is a bit of an interesting one, because it started off like pretty good, I felt, at least. Where can we find it? Here we go. V for Valor, right? This aura, which you could activate 0 cost, which means you're able to maybe block out, put this into play, and save it up. But really allowed for some different play patterns. Previous Boltyn was okay, but wasn't amazing with some of the pretty standard 2 cost, like things like Command and Conquer. It was obviously just as good as Command and Conquer is, but this V for Valor really plays well with all of those other 2 cost attacks, right? Being able to pitch a blue with a card in hand and come in with like a Command and Conquer or a Humble with a card in hand, and have this sitting in play is amazing for more of a mid-range Boltyn style deck, and it plays really, really well with what might be one of my favorite spoilers, like low key, is the Axe. Let's find it where we can. I guess it's generic, so it'll be a little further down. Here we go. So the Decimator Grade X. So I looked at this and it just reminded me of Guardian weapons, right? It's just a full power weapon that is just a single pitch. And this one is great at chip damage. So the first time this is defended by a non-equipment card, each turn half the base defense of target defending card. So if they block with a 2, it becomes 1, and if they, as it says on the card, if they block with a 3, it becomes 2. But it's just non-equipment. So if they block with a Sink Below, that becomes 2. So some sort of a mid-range Boltyn deck, maybe a little bit more fatiguey, a bit more block out, pitch a card, swing with the Axe, or set up that aura, come in with a 2 cost, or yeah, who knows? There's a lot of different options. Again, we can scroll up and check out this card, because the new legendary chess piece that's playable by Boltyn as well, the Soulbond Resolve. I think this card is great. Obviously, we knew the Banneret, which gives attacks, I believe it is, +1 while they're defending this turn. Means that there had to be a way to charge during your opponent's turn, and this is obviously it. And I love that the sort of play, not making it too crazy good, but obviously when this defends, you may charge your Hero Soul, so you're obviously going down a card. But in that, you get the 2 block from the equipment, which you'd expect, but also, and if you've charged, an additional 1 damage prevention. Pretty cool. And now if you're also doing charging something like that Banneret to gain the extra ability, there's some spice that can go on here. And I really do think this, plus one of the classic multi-block arm pieces, that Great Axe, you have some attacks, ways to charge, set up bigger turns. I could see Boltyn maybe slowing down a little bit, going a bit more mid-rangey. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I would say there is a lot of other light warrior cards that sort of fall into the same sort of space as charge cards we've seen in the past, and it's a little hard to speculate on. I didn't play tons of Boltyn previously. I just knew that he wasn't a great hero from sort of results, and also what other people have told me. or their experience playing him. So I don't know if this all puts it over the edge. I've got to sort of believe that LSS knows what they're doing, and that given that they had another shot and a lot of time to prepare, and knowing that Boltyn wasn't doing that well, that he kind of needed that push and power level, that I've got to assume that there's something here that's going to bring him at least more into the middle ground. Unless he is just one of those heroes that they're fine being a bit more fringe. But yeah, there wasn't too much here in the Boltyn space that really interests me. But yeah, finally here, this card is really interesting. This is just a light action, so I guess Boltyn can play it. But Cleansing Light, so just a 3-cost, rare even. If a card has been put into your hero's soul this turn, you may play this as though it were an instant, destroy target yellow aura. So this is quite interesting with that other warrior chess piece, right? You can potentially block with that, charge your soul, and play this as an instant on your opponent's turn in the Prism matchup to destroy an aura at instant speed. So this is really cool, and obviously is going to be a key piece of the Prism mirror, I would assume. Although it is a lot to ask, but we'll see. Now, oh my god, I am absolutely loving Vinsette. And again, same ability, but I bring up Vinsette Iron Maiden. That art. Federico absolutely outdone himself. I'm definitely really interested in this card, and 2 cards. Well, let's go with 3 cards. Too many to choose from. Obviously, Funeral Moon. This card's going to be great. This feels like a bit of a fixed Seeds. It's not like a proper comparison, I guess. But obviously, being able to banish this off Vinsette to make a rune chant, and then Vinsette has multiple ways to lose life, which means that you're able to play this at instant speed to create another rune chant. Means you can start building to those rune gates. And also, the name escapes me, but there's already a 1-cost Blood Debt card that if you've played a non-attack, you can play it from your banish zone, and then it allows you to put a non-attack with Blood Debt on the bottom. This feels like a natural target for that in this new Vinsette deck, where you can just get multiple of these, build up, start rune gating. Really cool. A card that I'm really hyped on is this Widespread Annihilation. This seems absolutely insane to me. We've just come from a world where like Oldhim has been dominant for a long time, and you've seen a lot of other people talk about the power of really good blues in decks, right? Cards that you actively want to pitch early on, that when they just come back around later in the game, that they are just really powerful. And the fact that this blue is just, it is a 4-cost, but it is a 6 power. It works as a popper at the very least. But the fact that it's a rune gate card that you're able to banish and obviously make a rune chant off, and the ability to, when the combat chain closes, each hero who has lost life this turn banishes a card from their hand. Now, it's your turn, and you're able to sort of dictate what you do with your own cards, right? You can plan it out. So you can, even though technically this is each hero who's lost life, which can very easily be you, you can play so that you know you're not going to have a card in hand to banish to this ability, right? But you're sort of asking your opponent, they have to have blocked out everything in order to escape this, because it's not when it hits, it's just when the combat chain closes. So if this is on the combat chain, they obviously have the option to use those cards to block, but it means they're not going to have them going into their own turn. And as we know, Vinsette has an on-hero ability to be able to push a point of arcane damage unpreventable, so you know you're going to turn this on. Looking at this and some of the other cards we've seen, I really think Read the Runes Red is going to be a mainstay in Vinsette decks. Previously, it doesn't have Go Again, but it's a great setup card. And even in something, you know, playing with this Widespread Annihilation, the ability to off Spellbound Creepers, I don't know, you know, banish Widespread Annihilation, make a rune chant, come in with an attack, you know, do a bunch of different stuff. But basically, like, use your Spellbound Creepers to, you know, say a meet and greet is hit. You've made a rune chant, and you're able to Spellbound Creepers at instant speed to get the 3 off, read the runes. You can play this, obviously 4's the magic number. The easy one is the Revel in Runeblood. So non-attack, attack, Revel, and then you can play this. There's a ton of different ways you can go, but the art is amazing. This card seems busted. They all block 3. Really, really cool. And then obviously the big one. Now these are not flip cards, but we have Oblivion. Again, another blue, but the legendary Vinsette specialization. So you can play this only if you control exactly 6 rune charts. Now, I'd be lying if I didn't say I wish that was 6 or more, but obviously they want to make you work for something. But you get to create Nazareth, the Soul Harrow token. Red Zone Rogue talks about a few ways that you can do this. I'm not going to go over it now because, yeah, I probably will in another video. But Nazareth, the Soul Harrower herself. This artwork is absolutely incredible. It might be my favorite demon ally we've had ever, more than Ursa, more than Blasphemophet. But obviously the ability only relevant if you're playing against a light hero, but against everything else it is a 0 cost attack, 6 power ally, 6 health, just so strong. So yeah, late game or in more controlled grindy matchups, being able to create Nazareth is going to be really, really strong. And one thing I should point out, obviously Oblivion being an instant, similar to the Figments being instants, means that we can't just play Remembrance and start recycling these cards. So yeah, once you've Oblivioned once, you don't get to do it again. But I think once is probably enough in the game plans where that's what you want to be doing. But oh my gosh, some of these cards, this is absolutely crazy good. I talked about the Illusionist, the legendary Illusionist headpiece as well that plays with kimono. This is that, the Diadem of Dreams state. A lot of people were pretty down on this card when it was first foiled, but I think it's pretty good. Now, obviously it's competing with some other really, really strong cards, and I don't know if this is for now with this Prism, or maybe it's some sort of sideboard package, but in tandem with the kimono, obviously, you know, if a non-token ward card, something like the Tome of Ao, is popped, or is destroyed, should I say, you get to make the 1 resource off kimono and use that to make the ponder. But even if you forget all the combination of cards, this by itself, right, you just play it, it's worth 2 points, so you can block accordingly to make sure if this is going to pop, that you get the full 2 points out of it. Now right there, that's probably average. It's probably the bottom level of what you'd want out of an equipment, although there's plenty of heroes that play less. I'd say Dromar's arm piece you don't really get 2 points of value out of properly, so this guaranteeing that too is still great. And at the very least it gets to turn 1 resource into a ponder token, so into a full new card on your next turn. Like, this just seems really good to me. I don't really get it. It takes a bit of work, but in a class which has a ton of instant speed play, you know, especially full cost, I don't see a world where you're not able to have 1 floating. So this ability isn't costing you a whole card, it's just the stray 1 resource that was needed. So yeah, I'm intrigued by this card. It's not the first thing I'm thinking about when I'm looking at all these spoilers, but it's definitely going to be interesting. I think it's probably something that's going to slip under the radar, won't see much play, and then down the line, as the Dusk Till Dawn metagame works itself out, this will be something that maybe is fringe playable in some sort of sideboard plan for Prism decks, but who knows? We'll see what happens. And then obviously, yeah, further down here, you've got the spoilers already new and some of the specializations. Another card that is quite cool is this Bastion of Unity. So the warrior offhand. Now, obviously the way that Temper works is that if you are using this Unity ability, you would get 3 block out of this. So for the first one with Unity, it would become 2 and get the -1 counter. And then the next time you block, it's obviously got a -1 counter, so you have to use the Unity ability and block with another card in order to get the extra 1 and trigger this. But I think this is really good. The only problem with this right now is that there aren't amazing one hands. Lots of people are talking about Dawnblade and how in every single piece of artwork, Dorinthia is having the Dawnblade in one hand, and it should have been one-handed, but being able to double Dawnblade would have been insane. So that seems a little bit more, game mechanics over lore. But currently it's just hatchets and the Centauri sabers, which I don't know if they're good enough to warrant this over having the second, especially since a lot of the warrior cards really open up having two weapons. But pretty cool, and this is a card that I definitely think is probably going to be in some future sets. This will become really good as warrior get another one-handed. It doesn't work with the Grade X, but eventually they're bound to get a great one-hand weapon, and in that event this card is going to be awesome. So yeah, I mean, I'm super hyped, and I had a few other cards that I wanted to talk to, but I didn't want this video to be too long. But I just can't get past this, and it's what we're going to end on again. Levia redeemed. Flippin' or Blasphemous Levia consumed. I wasn't expecting this, obviously. One of a kind card. First time we've seen Demi Hero. Absolutely huge. Art's amazing. Card is very cool. And I certainly think Levia is going to be something to be reckoned with. And on that note, I will say, stand by. I'm recording this 5 p.m. New Zealand time on the 2nd. But obviously spoilers are Eastern Standard Time. And Matt and I's spoiler card for Fab with Matt goes live at 9 a.m. New Zealand time on the 3rd, which I believe is 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as long as I've got that conversion right. Obviously, we live in the future. And our spoiler card is bringing some spice. So, yeah, on that note, I'm going to leave you guys. I cannot wait for tomorrow and the rest of these shadow spoilers to unfold, but hope you're enjoying yourself, and Merry TCG Christmas, as it were. All right, guys, until next time.